Hello, third graders. This is Mrs. Copeland, and I'm a math teacher in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. I'm going to be helping you with third grade memory joggers. Let's take a look at Week 9, Day 1, Problem D. Write a fraction to represent each section of the rectangle below. We have a couple things that we need to remember. The numerator represents the number of equal parts the problem is referring to, and the denominator represents the total number of equal parts. Unit fractions are fractions with a numerator of 1. You can think of a unit fraction like you think of units in measurement, such as inches or feet. The denominator is the number of times it takes to cover the whole with that unit. You can write a unit fraction to represent each of the parts above by thinking about how many of that size it would take to cover the whole. So look at A. If I were only going to use this size part to cover this whole rectangle, how many of size A would it take to cover the whole thing? It looks to me like A is half, like it would take me 2 of those to cover the whole thing. But what I might want to do, just to be sure, is to see how long that side is. We know that it's the same height, but is it the same width? So if I go here and I move that over, yes, it's the same. So if I were to take another copy of A and lay it over B, C, and D, I could cover the whole rectangle with A's. So it would take 2 A's to cover the whole rectangle. So A is 1/2 because there's only one of them. B, how many B's would it take to cover the whole rectangle? If I were to take B and lay it over the bottom here, would it cover over C and D? So if I measure this, I can tell it's the same length, but is it the same height? So if I slide this down, I can see that it's also the same height. So if I were to make another copy of B and lay it over C and D, I would have 2 over here. And then it would take, since I know that this side is the same as that side, it would take 2 more B's. So if I were to cover this whole thing with B's, I'm just going to draw a line. There would be 1 here, 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 and here. So it would take 4 B's to cover the whole shape. So those are fourths, and B is one of those. Now C, how many C's would it take? Now we know that B is the same as C and D. So if I were to partition this whole thing into C and D size pieces, so that would be another one here and here, and then I could partition over here because we know this whole side is the exact same as that side. There would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. And so C would be 1/8. And I didn't show this a second ago. We probably should have done it even before we assumed that. But if I look at C, that's how wide C is. And D is exactly the same, so C and D are the same size. So we know that D is also 1/8. Thank you, and if you have additional questions about this problem, please ask your classroom teacher.